We start tonight with two conversations. The first with Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, chairman of the Democratic National Convention, and then with former Governor Pete Wilson, who is heading California's delegation to the Republican National Convention. Earlier today, Carla Marinucci and I spoke with them from Los Angeles. Well, welcome and thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa, for joining us. The GOP will have had their say, and we're wondering what will be presented different coming from the Democratic Party.
Well, first of all, this will be the most accessible convention, Democrat or Republican, in history. They'll start off on Monday with a big event open to everyone, not just our delegates. We'll end off at the football stadium, the Bank of America Stadium there, 65,000 people, delegates and people from all over the South and all over the nation. It will be the most diverse convention in our history, and in fact, the most diverse convention ever. Very different from the Republican convention, which, as you know, historically is not very diverse, and will be mostly a lot of the rich and super rich that are funding their super PACs. I think what will be different about our convention is it will be an opportunity for us to share with people the stark choices they have in November.
And Mayor,
voting for...
And Mayor, when you talk about choices, I mean, I want to go to that because we know that Republicans here in California have issues, have problems with finances, with registration, but the Democrats here are challenged too. Independent voters growing the fastest here in California, party registration stagnant, a lot of talk about the youth vote falling off. How are you going to shore up the Democratic base here in California? How are you going to keep that base growing?
Well, first of all, I expect that in California, President Obama and Joe Biden will win overwhelmingly. Secondly, yes, we all have to do a lot of hard work to encourage young people to vote, to make sure that we get out our vote. But speaking about the convention, I think you'll see a very clear difference between our candidate who's focused on the middle class, who understands that we have to make investments in education, in workforce development, make the tough choices to get our economy back on track and our deficit down, but also cut taxes and close the tax loopholes that currently the super rich benefit from. So I think you'll see a very different convention from the Republicans in terms of our diversity, our openness, our accessibility, but also in terms of the issues.
Mayor, when you talk about diversity, a lot of people are looking straight at you. The spotlight is going to be on you at this convention. You've been written about in the past couple of weeks as potentially the first Latino president. You told Yahoo News you're not really interested in that job, but maybe governor. What about that? Is this going to be a great platform that's going to bring Antonio Villaraigosa to a lot of American voters, a lot of California voters?
I joked about being a mayor of Los Angeles. My focus is on my job. LA is safer than any time since the 1950s. We're doubling the size of our rail system in a short period of time. You see development downtown and in Hollywood. You see a different city. We're reforming our schools. We've doubled the number of schools that are scoring at 800 and above on the Academic Performance Index. We've reduced from 33% to 10% the number of failing schools. So I'm focused on this job and focused on getting President Obama elected this November.
We have to talk a minute about jobs and immigration. Both are very important. I assume they will be spoken about and talked about at this convention. What about the new registration of young people who hope to go on and get permanent citizenship in this country, who came here as young people, that just been launched this week? What do you think the future of that action by President Obama will bring?
Well, as you know, I just left a tenure of a year as president of the Conference of Mayors around the country. And for maybe the last 6 or 7 years, we've unanimously, Democrat and Republican, got behind comprehensive immigration reform, unanimously supported the DREAM Act. So I stand with the president in support of deferred action for the Dreamers. And what I've said, and I believe very strongly the vast majority of Americans agree, is that, you know, if we get these Dreamers, 1.5 million young people who've lived here most of their life and know no other country. If we take them from out of the dark and into the light, it'll add $1.5 trillion to the U.S. economy. If we help to make citizens and earn legalization for the 11 million undocumented, the number is in $3 to $4 trillion to the U.S. economy. So you're right. You fix immigration, and you're going to infuse our economy, create more jobs. We're going to incentivize these young people to get an education, to serve their country and the military, and they're going to pay back in dividends by contributing greater to the Social Security system, by ensuring that these young people are working hard for that American dream.
Well, we look forward to joining you in Charlotte for your convention and to hear more about jobs and immigration and all the other hot button issues that will be before you. Thank you so much, Mayor Villaraigosa.
Thank you for having me.
Governor Wilson, welcome to the show. Good of you to join us to talk about what's ahead for the Republicans at their convention in Tampa coming up. It looks like California's off to a great start. You have a star, Governor Chris Christie, who's going to be addressing your breakfast early, I guess, on in this. So what's the mood of the delegation?
Well, I think the mood is very upbeat. As you mentioned, we're going to have Governor Christie to kick things off for us. That guarantees an energetic beginning and a very, very well-spoken one. We're looking forward to him and looking forward to Tampa and what it will lead to.
Governor, you know, on the campaign trail, we have seen California take center stage. Both Governor Romney and Sarah Palin in the last week have talked about California, comparing it to Greece as an example of Democratic fiscal mismanagement. Give us your thoughts. Is it fair to compare California to a place that has 4 times the unemployment and 10 times the debt? Is it a fair Republican message to use California in this campaign?
Absolutely, because California, unfortunately, is suffering from self-inflicted wounds, much as are the countries of Southern Europe. And in terms of piling up debt, we haven't been at it as long, but we're doing our best, it seems, to catch up. So, yeah, it is a fair comparison, and one that's far more relevant, really, because California is 13% of the United States by almost whatever metric you choose to apply.
Doesn't that make it hard, though, to build a party in this state when the leadership is saying where you live is not a good place to be? I mean, the Republican Party has had some serious problems with drop-off in registration. You're at a new low point here. Wouldn't it be maybe helpful for somebody to like Californians?
Well, you know something, you cannot sell a bad product to anyone with any sense. And frankly, California is suffering from self-inflicted wounds. Is there a way out of it? Absolutely. I mean, when I came to office, I had to deal with a budget in which we were having to close a gap, a revenue gap, that was the euphemism, that was 1/3 of the entire state general fund. But part of the explanation for that gap was a business climate that was recognized nationwide as either indifferent or hostile to the creation of new jobs. California has that same reputation again, even though 8 years after I had to contend with it, California was at that point producing more jobs than New York, Pennsylvania, and Illinois combined. We were the premier export state, so it can be done, but it's not happening now.
Governor, you mentioned some of the challenges you faced. One of the challenges, I think, is a lot of people say, is the California Republican Party has gone too far to the right, gone too conservative, and that's why registration declining. You were a moderate, pro-choice. You created healthy families. Could a candidate like yourself today be nominated in the Republican Party or have success in the California Republican Party, do you think?
Yes, I do. I think that I proved it. And I also think that that is a much lesser issue today than it was then. If I could be an absolute dictator for 5 minutes and make irrevocable changes, I would amend the U.S. Constitution to provide that so-called social issues are the province of the states and not the federal government, and that the federal government should confine its activities to national security, to the economy, to all of the regulatory responsibilities that arise from that, international trade, and let the states deal with those problems that arise that are differently felt about in different states. I mean, each state has its own penal code. There are 50 different penal codes. I don't think there'd be 50 different decisions where there's essentially a choice. It's either yes or no.
For just one moment, because you as a governor took up an issue that is now center stage in national politics, and that is a whole issue of immigration. Have we grown to the point where the Republicans can offer Latino voters what they're looking for, a better immigration policy?
Well, what they should offer them is not pandering. Not saying that we will take you in because you happen to be a large voting populace. We should offer them, as we do, what we offer to all small businesses, to all entrepreneurs, to all people who share a concern about being able to put bread on the table. We can say to them that history proves that we have provided a far better jobs climate. And no one has yet devised a program that is quite the equal, a social program that is the equal of a job that brings not only a paycheck, but also the dignity of doing something useful each day.
Governor, you're saying the word that we must end upon. Thank you very, very much for sharing with us.
Thank you. I'll look forward to it as well. Nice to be on the show.
Okay. Well, both Carla and I will be covering the Republican National Convention in Tampa 2 weeks from today.